Hi, this is Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about the first full moon of 2022, the full moon in Cancer on January 17th. So the full moon in Cancer will take place on January 17th at 6:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 27 degrees of Cancer, 51 minutes. So it's happening in the evening. You should Google for what time the full moon is going to be exact in your area. Now, Cancer moons are nurturing, feminine, moody as all get out. And I love this sign, but I also can't stand dealing with their moodiness. So it's a good thing they have about a gajillion other just amazing, wonderful characteristics to make up for all the moodiness. So I can forgive their occasional extreme emotions, and they are extreme. Cancer moon people just want to take care of their families and their homes. They want to cook good food and stay in their homes and eat it and share it with their families. That's really what they're about. And in order for them to take care of their family, they need serenity. They need to be serene. They need everything around them to be calm. So every once in a while, somebody says something or something happens that pricks their senses and makes them feel threatened or like there's danger of some kind around. And that's when the Cancer moon person becomes very, very hysterical, moody, extreme, emotional, reactive. They're hard to take at those times. But if you're living with or you're in a relationship of some kind with somebody with a moon in Cancer, you know what I'm talking about, and you get used to it and you develop ways of dealing with it. So when the moon is in Cancer, for the rest of us, our emotions are at a 10. But we also want to nurture and cook and take care of the people we love. So the best thing to do during moon in Cancer is to stay home, cook a great meal, have your family around you and your loved ones around you. But if you can't do that, then the next best alternative is to be at home, cook good food, but maybe take on a small home project just during the time that the moon is in Cancer, just so you don't have to expose yourself to too much craziness from the other people who are out there, because you know on a full moon everybody is a little bit of a lunatic anyway. But see, Cancer is ruled by the moon, so this full moon is the most lunacy that you can have on a new moon. So yeah, so I would stay home and like clean out a closet, or build that shelf that you've been putting off, or try out a new recipe or something that will improve your domestic scene just for the 2.5 days of the actual full moon. Now the full moon in Cancer, as I already said, is at 27 degrees 50 or 51 minutes. The sign of Cancer itself is a feminine sign. It's also a cardinal sign, which means that Cancer wants to be a leader. Even people with just moon in Cancer want to be leaders because they're starters. They like to start things, so they like to be out front. Not like an Aries cardinal sign wants to be out front, not even like a Libra just to get the attention. Cancer wants to be out front because they think they're right. And the thing is, they're a water sign, they're very intuitive, they're good at reading people, and they are ruled by the moon, and the moon means people. So when the moon is in Cancer, we're all a little bit moon in Cancer. We're all a little more moody. We're all a little more sensitive. We're all a little more nurturing. And here's a bonus. People with moon in Cancer have really great memories. And during the moon in Cancer, our memory is very good too. I don't know if that's because of all the emphasis on water or what, but our memories are just better when the moon's in Cancer. And we are all more intuitive. So who do we know that has their moon in Cancer? It's somebody that just had a birthday, and you're going to recognize her straight away. Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, has her moon in Cancer. In fact, Kate Middleton was actually born on the full moon in Cancer. She's a Capricorn, her birthday is January 9th, and her moon is in Cancer. So, as we look at Kate Middleton as an example of somebody who has their moon in Cancer, what do we see? We see somebody who is very sensitive and nurturing. She's great with kids, her own and other people's children. She seems to be very intuitive because she seems to be able to read a room really, really well. And she seems to have a great memory. She has to go to all of these functions and remember a million people's names and what she did there before. So I think Kate Middleton is a great example of a person with a moon in Cancer, and so appropriate to use for our example today because she was actually born on the full moon in Cancer. Now, just on a little side note about Kate Middleton, she was also born during a lunar eclipse, and so was her husband, William. Now, he's not a Cancer, but he was born during a solar eclipse. So he's the solar energy in the relationship because he's born during the solar eclipse, and she's the lunar energy in the relationship because she was born during a lunar eclipse. And fun fact, many rulers are born during an eclipse. Case in point, Queen Elizabeth was born during an eclipse. And fun fact for this country, Donald Trump was born during an eclipse. So this full moon is also going to be great for President Biden. Why? Because the sun, the moon, and the sign Pluto are all hovering around 27 degrees of their signs at the time of the full moon, and President Biden has a sun at 27 degrees of Scorpio. Also, Venus is making a great aspect to his sun and a couple of his other planets as well. So this full moon is going to be terrific for Joe Biden. And you just wait and see if maybe his approval ratings don't start to really shoot up after this full moon on January 17th. Now, what is the full moon good for? The full moon is a great time for letting go of negative patterns and toxic thoughts. It's a great time for releasing all those wasted emotions that we talk about. Say them with me now. Guilt, fear, jealousy, and disappointment. They're just useless. You just don't need them in your life, so let them go. At the time of the full moon, the energy from everything that you've been doing for the last month really is culminating. It's coming to a peak. And so the energies at the full moon are very powerful. So if you can use those energies to focus your intentions on what you really want, it's very powerful and usually pretty successful. The full moon is the yin and the yang energy at its peak. We have the moon for the yin energy standing straight across the sky from the sun for the solar energy. And in this way, these energies complement one another. Now, occasionally they fight one another, right? But it does depend on your perspective. If you can accept that the solar energy complements the lunar energy and they fit together like a yin-yang, then you can use that energy more easily. But if you want to see which one is more powerful or which one's stronger or which one's right or more right, then you're just buying into the duality, us-them kind of paradigm, and you're not really going to get anywhere. What you want to do is allow that energy from the full moon that is giving you conflict of some kind to hone in on things that are unresolved. Do you have some fear? Do you have some jealousy? That may be energy that's really unresolved, and the full moon may be the perfect time for you to resolve it. Now, full moons can also shine a light on the darkness. So if you've got something that you're ashamed of, something you feel, again, guilty about, or you just don't quite know how to put a name to it, the full moon energy can allow you to figure it out. And how do you do all of this? By meditation. Ask your higher self, your guides and your angels before you start meditating to show you. And also, don't be afraid to ask them to make it very clear and to show you multiple times so that you can't possibly miss it. That's the secret to people who really are successful with these spiritual practices that I'm talking about, is they're not afraid to demand from their angels, guides, and higher self to make it clear. When you do that, you're really saying to the universe, I really want to learn from this. I want to grow. I want to progress. I want to be the best I can be of me. And in that way, the universe will bless you with as many lessons as you can take in. But you got to ask. Sometimes you got to demand. All right, moving on. Now let's talk about the retrograde planets. And right now, we have 3 planets that are actually in retrograde. The first is Mercury. It went retrograde. Actually, it was the last one to go retrograde. It went retrograde on January 14th. And in its progress, Mercury is going to go from the early degrees of Aquarius, backing up over those early degrees and bump into Capricorn. And it'll start out Capricorn, of course, at 29 degrees, 59 minutes of Capricorn, and just keep going back. And it goes quite a ways back into Capricorn. So it's going to hit all those degrees that it just went over. And then when it goes direct, it's going to hit all those degrees again. So that's the typical pattern when we have a retrograde planet, is that it's going to hit degrees 3 times. Once on the way in, once on the retrograde, and once on the way out again. The next planet that we have retrograde is Venus. Now, Venus went retrograde about December 19th, and she's going to station direct on January 29th. But in the meantime, she has been hitting Pluto over and over and over again, as well as a few other planets. So Venus in Capricorn is all about the status. It's all about the designer handbag and the bank balance. So you'll find that there are certain things in your life that have to do with Capricornian type things that Venus is going to be hitting over and over again during the month of January. And then we have Uranus. Now, Uranus will station direct the day after our full moon. So we don't have to put up with Uranus retrograde very much longer, but it's already done a lot for us. And I think what you'll find during that full moon period, so the full moon is going to be in effect for about 2.5 days. But remember that it's about 27 degrees. It's pretty late in Cancer when it hits that full moon status. So probably the 2.5 days prior to that actual full moon is when you're really going to get the benefit of it. And that's when it's also going to be interacting with Venus in Capricorn, which is going to be almost directly opposite. Now, Uranus will station direct the day after the full moon. So Uranus is still in Taurus. It's right around that 10-degree mark, and it has been for a couple of months. So when it starts to move direct, though, and we no longer have the retrograde affecting it, we'll notice a couple of things. We'll notice that a big burst of energy is released on us. And we'll notice that weather events will really start happening again that are quite surprising and quite alarming. More things having to do with the earth, but also water. All right, so now we're going to go on to the other planetary placements, and I'm including January 18th in these planetary placements because this full moon is happening late in the day on the 17th where I am, and probably in other parts of the world it is going to bleed over onto the 18th. So there are a lot of planetary aspects affecting this full moon. Like I said, it's going to be something. This full moon, there's going to be some things happening on this full moon, not only for Joe Biden, but for all of us. And in this video, I'm not going to talk about every single one of these placements. I'm going to focus on the personal placements, and the other placements I will speak about in my astrology video about the period from this full moon to the next new moon. So that means that I'm going to speak about just these placements. Okay, so let's take a look at the chart of the full moon. So you'll notice in this chart that there is a huge big red line going across the middle of the circle from the moon to Pluto and the sun. So Pluto and the Sun, that's a pretty profound aspect, and you're all going to feel, especially if you have things at around 27 degrees of Capricorn or any of the cardinal signs, also any of the earth signs, you're going to feel that your life has changed after that day. Something in your life is going to shift on January 17th or 18th, where you have a more profound sense of your own destiny. And the reason for this is that most of the planets during the full moon are aspecting the North Node. And the North Node is our destiny. Now, this is the North Node currently, where it is a point in the sky on the moon's orbit, right? But in your chart, you also have a North Node, and that's where your destiny really lies, and that's where you should be exploring your own potentials in this lifetime so that you can grow and explore as many talents as possible and be happiest as possible. Now, if your North Node is not at 27 degrees, no worries. You're still going to feel this Pluto-Sun conjunction because of the emphasis on the current North Node. It's just going to affect everybody. So that's a really important thing to note. The Sun conjunct Pluto is going to bring about deep and unexpected significant changes in your life in some way. So wherever 27 degrees of Capricorn is in your chart, that's most likely the area of your chart where Pluto-Sun conjunction is going to affect you. It's an aspect of secret and consciously concealed power. Now, you have to look at your own chart, or you can, certainly get a reading from me or some other astrologer, but you have to know where that is in your chart in order to see where that concealed and secret power might be expressing itself. There's a great will and desire to succeed. So wherever 27 degrees of Capricorn is in your chart, that's where you will have this great push, this great will to succeed. So if it's in your first house, then generally you as a person will just want to succeed. That's where I have it, actually. If it's in your 10th house, the focus will be more on your career. You will want your career to succeed. If you have it in the 7th house, it will be there because you want your relationships or your partnerships to succeed, etc. So it would pay, as I said from the very beginning with Astrology 2022, you really, this year, you need an astrologer to give you a good reading, because there's so many fine points that are coming up, and the planets are so profound this year that I think you would really benefit from having a reading so that you would know, where should I be putting my focus this year? Where should I be putting my energies? Now, with Pluto and the Sun is usually seen as a paternal figure. So this is some kind of change or significant revelation that you might come to pertaining to a father figure, a parental figure. You may reject the parental figure, and you may not want to accept the authority of that parental figure, or you may be learning deep, deep lessons from that parental figure. For most of us, there will be conflicts with authority, and also the promise of change and transformation as we understand or accept what that authority figure was trying to do and how we can apply that principle in our life. And that sounds kind of complicated, but it isn't. Everybody has a father complex, right? And everybody plays that out in their job, in their family, with their father, with somebody else, with someone who represents their father. So you'll be going through this at the time of the full moon. And we also have, at the same time, as we see on the chart, we have the moon in opposition to Pluto. And this affects our feelings. And with Pluto, everything is not just exaggerated. It isn't a Jupiter expansiveness energy. It's a Pluto laser focus, but the kind of laser that just could just plow through the earth, right? So you're going to find yourself in situations where you are changed because of an experience that you have, maybe at the hands of another person, or maybe just on your own, you stumble on it, but you decide to change your life from that moment on, and it is a very big, significant change. Also, interests in Pluto type subjects like psychology, occultism, alternative movements like alternative medicines or alternative religions, new lifestyles. These will all be a big focus Not for everybody and not every single topic, but some kind of topic like that will draw you. You will be gravitating to it. Another negative aspect of the moon opposition Pluto is that for some people, it may make you feel bad about your body, and you may feel that you cannot accept the way you look. But that's one of the more superficial characteristics of this transit. There's a lot more going on under the surface if you're willing to look at it. So I would really encourage you to look at a deeper meaning associated with Moon opposition Pluto. And then we have, this is one of the ones that's very personal, the Sun trine node. Now, again, it's not the personal node in your natal chart, although it might be if you have a node at 27 degrees, but this is the traveling node right now. So it's at the very, very end of Taurus, as the Sun is at the very, very end of Capricorn. This gives you a focus on your life energy and your life focus. So it does allow you to really hone in on what am I meant to do here? What am I supposed to be doing here? And then we have the moon sextile the north node, and this gives us the more instinctive urge to follow the path of the north node. Now, your north node may not be in Taurus or Gemini. Your north node could be in Sagittarius. Wherever your north node is, you're probably still going to feel this somewhat, especially if your node hovers around the degrees of, say, 25 degrees of one sign up to 5 degrees of the next sign. That will make you sensitive to this sextile from the moon. Your emotions will be in harmony with this focus, but then there's a lot of other conflicting energies that are coming up. Now we have Mercury conjunct Saturn, and you can see it here. Here's Saturn, and here's Mercury. And this gives people a very serious, conservative, and practical mindset during the time of the aspect. And it'll probably only last like 12 hours or something. Mercury's moving pretty fast right now. But we don't trust our abilities because it's Saturn. So Saturn takes away. Saturn drains of confidence, right? Saturn squelches that confidence. And you may have trouble expressing yourself, and it may make it hard for you to concentrate. But the good part about this aspect is that it will make you very persistent, very practical, very methodical, and very detail oriented because of the aspect of Mercury. Now, what I would suggest that you do is use this period of time to catalog your great accomplishments. Don't use this as a period of time to say, hey, I figured out my real mission in life. You should give me a raise and I can do it for this company. That's not what you should do during this full moon at all. And as I said at the very top of the video, probably you should be staying at home during this full moon. If you can work from home or just be at home during this full moon, probably the best thing ever. But so the Mercury conjunct Saturn isn't a really great aspect, but it's not terrible either. And you should use it for practical things. Research and study especially would be favored under this aspect. Then we have Jupiter square north node. Now Jupiter, here we go. Let's see, Jupiter, Aquarius, where are you? There we are, Pisces. So here's Jupiter in Pisces, right? And it's squaring that north node. It's just making it pretty much a 90-degree angle to the north node. Square is a difficult aspect. This makes a stress on things. But again, if you don't have planets in these early degrees of the signs, or very, very late degree of the earth sign, then it's not going to be as impactful for you, but you'll still get some benefit from it, but maybe not the harshness of it if you don't have planets that are sensitive to those degrees. Again, you need to speak to an astrologer. So, Jupiter square north node. Now, the positive part about this is that you're going to feel very confident about your own abilities, and you may feel like you can overcome any challenges that life throws at you during the time of the square. But remember, the square is actually an unpleasant, difficult aspect. But you may be depending on luck in order to do these things. The negative side of this is that you find no meaning in it. And the whole point of the North Node is to find meaning. So you may be finding what you want to do, but you may not really understand the meaning of it or what your real mission is. So it's like you can figure out, oh, you know what? I need to be a Sherpa. Okay, great. Sherpas take people up Mount Everest, right? But you may not know why you need to do that. And humans need to know why. Otherwise, there's not enough motivation to keep doing it. So the Jupiter squaring the North Node kind of blinds you with too much optimism to be able to focus in on what's the real nitty gritty. Now, the Sun aspects are giving you all sorts of clues. They're throwing all sorts of ideas at you, but the Jupiter aspect is kind of clouding your vision of being able to see what is that real fine point. But then comes Pluto, and Pluto trines the North Node. So Pluto will give you great energy to really focus in on why you need to do something. What's the focal point of your life? So again, if you have planets that are sensitive to Pluto, 27 degrees Capricorn, then you may have a better chance with this period of really figuring out what is your destiny. And that's what I have to say about Pluto trine North Node. So the Pluto trining North Node is about power and powerlessness and the encounter with our own shadow self and how we overcome things in our shadow and our challenges in life and how we find our life path. It's pretty heavy. When you put Pluto with anything, it becomes pretty heavy. But what you need to remember about Pluto, yes, it's intense, and it does not magnify things. It actually focuses in smaller on things and makes them that's why they become so intense. They concentrate everything on that other planet. But Pluto in and of itself is about power and powerlessness, how you have been used and abused, how you have used and abused others, how you have become megalomaniacal, how you have become unreasonable in your life, and how others have become unreasonable towards you. So it's about unequal power plays in our lives. And when you put the North Node, which is your destiny and what you want to do in life, with a harmonious aspect to Pluto, you can begin to figure that out. But you have to be open to it. The water signs, and the first sign up is Cancer. So Cancer, we have a lot of activity in your 7th house, and the moon falls in your 1st house. So this means that you're going to be very sensitive during this full moon. And like all full moons, when they fall in your 1st house, you're going to be focusing on you and how you present yourself to the world. So it's a great time, Cancer, to look at the way you dress, the way you wear your hair, the way you market yourself, any social media that you're on. And if you want to make changes, this is the best time of year to make changes for you. And then we want to see what's going on with these other planets. And in this instance, we've got a lot of 7th house activity, don't we? We have Pluto and the Sun here in your 7th house. You've got Venus in your 7th house. And that's going to be really important for your relationships. So something profound is going to shift and change with your significant other. You've got Venus going over your 7th house. It could be that your partner gets a significant change to their career, a significant change to their status in some way. It's Venus in Capricorn, so I'm guessing that your partner is going to get a boost in some way, monetarily or in status or in title, and this will somehow affect you. And we've got that Mercury Saturn conjunction happening in your 8th house, which isn't great, but it could be a great time to focus and study and analyze what's going on with your joint resources. Maybe it's time to update things like wills or trusts or insurance policies, or even to refinance your house. I would not do the refinancing on the full moon, but you certainly can start researching it and putting things into motion. Just remember that Saturn does have that kind of demeaning effect where it makes you feel bad about things, so you have to be a little bit careful of that. Don't undervalue your home or your resources when you're doing any sort of refinancing. Just be careful of that. And then you have Jupiter in the 9th house squaring the node, but all these other planets giving the node a big boost. And I think that it's important that you use this energy to look at your destiny in life and what your real mission is in life, what it is that you're trying to accomplish in life. I think everybody should be looking at this right now. These planets don't line up this way just for no reason, just by accident. They're lining up this way to help us understand what we're really here for in a broader sense, in a much broader sense, and to bring everybody into this pool of humanity to work together to make things better on the planet. So great, great, great for you. And Cancer, if you can think of the planet as your home and not just your house as your home, you can contribute in profound ways to improving our situation here on this planet. And then we want to look at Scorpio. Scorpio, this moon is sitting in your 9th house. So it's an emotional time for you, looking at you in the broader scope of the world at large. You know, did you want to travel to foreign lands? Do you want to make those plans now? Do you want to connect with maybe relatives in a foreign land? You could have siblings in a foreign land, or one of your parents could be originally from a foreign land. So you're thinking about crossing the waters and making connections to possibly relatives and ancestors from other countries. So that would be a big focus for you in this full moon. And then the Sun, Pluto, and Venus are all in your 3rd house. So ideas are going. This could also, this Sun and Pluto conjunction in your 3rd house means that your experience about the way you communicate, maybe you teach something, or maybe just the way you look at communication and everyday life is about to change profoundly. Probably for the better, because Venus is there, so it's probably going to be blessed by the goddess Aphrodite. And you will also possibly change the way you make transactions happen in your daily life. Like maybe you're going to make the move from plastic to Bitcoin, or maybe you're going to come up with ideas about Bitcoin and chain block technology. You never know. And Venus in Capricorn is all about commerce and the transaction and the bigger transaction and the best transaction. So Venus is very happy in this house because she can affect things for the better, and she can bless you with prosperity there. So very exciting for you, Scorpio. Now Mercury and Saturn conjunct in the 4th house means that you will be looking at very practical ways to improve your domestic situation. It is a moon in Cancer. Everybody's going to be thinking about their home at this time. But the Mercury-Saturn, remember, it does have a debilitating aspect to it. And so you want to use this time for analysis and study and research, not necessarily physical labor. So it's not the time for you to actually build that new closet. It's the time for you to make the plans and draw pictures and do research and that kind of thing about the closet, or maybe a whole new bedroom or whatever, but not to actually do the physical work. Jupiter squaring the node from the 5th house means that something about your life focus and life purpose will have to do with the joint resources of your partner, or sex, death, and taxes. So you may be looking at a completely different way of focusing your life, Scorpio. This may be a big change, and this Pluto conjunct Sun may be assisting in that change. So you could be going through some big changes having to do with your joint finances, actually, as a result of this full moon. Now let's look at Pisces. So Pisces, this moon is happening in your 5th house for children. So if you have any children, or if you interact routinely with other people's children, this full moon is going to have a big effect on you. You will be very emotional about the whole subject of children, but also of having fun and vacations and games of chance, sports, coaching, all sorts of things like that will have a real emotional tug for you. And it will be opposing the Sun-Pluto conjunction in your 11th house. So things having to do with friends, hopes, groups, and wishes are going to change now. The big change for you may be, usually the 11th house represents, yes, friends, hopes, and wishes, but also things that we do usually towards retirement after we have worked at a job for many years and made our money and made our investments, and now we have some leisure time. Maybe we have some disposable income and we want to do something meaningful with it. And that Sun Pluto conjunction may be informing your decisions about what to do with that money. Plus, Venus in Capricorn is there this month and at the time of the full moon. So you could be focusing on gifting groups or organizations that give to women, or that give to women who are trying to work, because that would be Venus Capricorn. It would not be anything to do with masculine group. Like you wouldn't be donating to the Knights of Columbus. You wouldn't be, but you might be donating to a hospital, or a women's hospital, or even a children's hospital, because you got the moon in the 5th house there emphasizing children. So something about that area, those areas of life are about to go through a transformative change, Pisces. Now, Mercury and Saturn conjunct in the 12th house would mean that you are looking at the way you delve into your own subconscious, or your connection to people in very, very far away countries, foreign countries, and deciding how you want to deal with those people. You may not be able to deal with them directly at this time, but you may be making plans to do that. You may be studying the situation. You may be gathering information about the situation. You may be talking about the situation, but not really able to do anything while Saturn is there, but building your plan. Saturn is the builder, but usually things are delayed. The gratification of the gift of Saturn is usually delayed and restricted in some way. But you have Jupiter in the 1st house during this full moon. Jupiter is squaring the North Node in your 4th house. So Pisces, you are looking at your particular destiny in regards to your family and the family of origin. So if you were not raised by your family of origin, I think this means that you're going to reach out and try to find your family of origin. When you take Mercury and Saturn in the 12th house there, and then the Jupiter squaring the node and the 4th house, it's like, okay, this is about family. And plus, moon in Cancer, it's all about family. So Pisces, this could be a very profound full moon for you, and you may find that the Jupiter node situation and the Pluto Sun node situation all lead you towards finding a real meaning in the destiny of your life right now, and the meaning may really focus around family, your origins. Where did you come from? Interesting. So then let's go to the fire signs. So Aries, you have this moon in your 4th house, so you have an emphasis this month on your actual home. Now, the moon in Cancer for you always falls this way every year in January. So you may find in general that January is just a month where you stay home a lot, and maybe you cook a lot in January. You've got the Sun, Pluto, and Venus in your 10th house. So your career is going to go through some profound changes, some big changes, and most likely for the better. You've got Venus there. Venus is going to be a boon, a gift, a benefit, and prosperity. So you've probably been grappling with certain ideas having to do with your compensation in your job, or the way you are visible or not visible in your job, and trying to make adjustments with that, which may have been difficult to do while Venus is retrograde. But Venus is going to go direct at the end of the month. So look at the end of the month for seeing where things are really going to break out for you, and where these changes that you're talking about are really going to be implemented. And remember, the full moon is on the 17th, and Venus goes direct on the 29th. So you've got a few, what is that, about 10, not quite 10 days. That's a little over a week for ideas to kind of percolate in there, and for things to actually happen with Venus's new direct motion. And it may take past the end of January too. It may take a couple of weeks, maybe from the full moon to the new moon for it to really happen, or the full moon to the next full moon. But this area of your life is what's going to really be going undergoing transformation and change. Now, the 11th house has the Mercury Saturn conjunction in it, and so friends, hopes, and wishes, groups that you're a part of, are going to be things that you really, really study. It could be that you're not a part of any groups right now, Aries, and you're looking and studying and trying to figure out what kind of groups you want to be a part of. I would not, on the full moon, just pick up the phone or pick up, email or whatever on the internet and say, hey, I want to be a part of your group. I would study it. I would take a look at these groups because, Aries, you want to make a commitment. And if this commitment to a new group is any kind of an offshoot from what's changing in your career, you need to look at that and see, kind of let it settle down, come into focus. Also, you've got Jupiter in the 12th house squaring the North Node in your 3rd house, so you could be going through some revelations about your own destiny and what you're really trying to do in this lifetime. Jupiter in the 12th house says that, you may be traveling to foreign countries soon. You may be traveling and connecting and going places that are far, far away and really doing really different things in your life than you have been doing up to this point. Jupiter just went into Pisces at the very end of 2021. And so this could be a whole part of a transformation and change for you in regards to your career that has an impact on your personal life. So with the moon in the 4th house, it does mean that your personal life is really taking on greater importance for you at this moment. And the moon and Jupiter are not trine by degree, but they are trine by sign. So this may be giving you the grace to figure out what it is that your real destiny in life is and how you want to pursue it. Now, the North Node, the current North Node for you, Aries, is in your 3rd house, which would be impacting your everyday transactions, your early childhood, and things like that. Of course, if you're, past the age of like 25, that early childhood stuff has finished in your life. But going to work every day, the people that you see every day when you go to work, your normal transactions, stopping to get a cup of coffee, etc., your normal routine at work, that is your 3rd house once you're an adult. And the North Node there could be saying, there's much more that you could be doing in that area of your life, and Jupiter and Pluto actually are going to help you figure that out. And then we come to Leo. So Leo, the moon for you is in your 12th house, which means it's a contemplative place. So you're at a point right now with that Pluto Sun conjunction and the opposition to the moon where you really need to think and meditate and pray and be alone and be quiet with this energy for a little while so that you can figure out really what is going on. And what is going on for you is transformational changes in the place that you work, in your health, and maybe with your pets. So the way that you interact with people in the job is about to take a big giant step in another direction. So big transformation here. You may be getting either you may be getting a raise at your job, or there may be more women joining the crew at your job, and this may spark some of the changes that's going to be going on for you personally. Now, all of this, the Pluto Sun, is all in opposition to the moon, and so your spidey senses are going to be at a 12 out of 10. You may be very intuitive about this stuff. You may be imagining and seeing things. You may be having very vivid dreams, and you may be imagining and seeing things that you could do in the future that nobody's thought of yet. And so you want to write down your dreams. You want to write down all of those ideas and see when is the right time to bring that to your higher ups, or if you're part of the higher up team, when do you bring that out in the open and start talking about these ideas, because you know that they're going to be gangbusters. They're going to be great. Now you've got the Mercury Saturn conjunction in your 7th house for your partnerships. So if you are married and this is a spouse, then this is not a good time to have discussions, because you're not going to be at 100%. You're going to shortchange yourself in those discussions of whatever it is that you and your partner have to talk about. And I think what you have to talk about is probably joint resources, because Jupiter's in the 8th house. So what I want you to do, Leo, is you and your spouse spend a couple of weeks doing research about whatever it is that's going on in your relationship that you want to focus on. And then at the end of those 2 weeks, when this Mercury-Saturn conjunction has passed and everybody's feeling more confident, then you can have a discussion without, people being reduced to tears and, being upset or feeling guilty or ashamed of anything that they're doing. You just need to give it some space. But that Mercury-Saturn aspect is really good for research and study. It's not great for then talking to people about it until maybe a week or so later, at least 1 week later. Now, Jupiter in your 8th house may mean that you're getting a boon to your joint finances. It could be that your partner is doing really well and able to contribute more to, say, your retirement funds or more to the mortgage or whatever. The 8th house isn't only just joint finances, though. It is sex, death, taxes, and rebirth. So look to your spirituality here. You have your moon, the full moon right now, Leo, in your 12th house, and then you've got Jupiter in the 8th house. So Jupiter's in the early degrees of Pisces, and the Cancer full moon is in the latter degrees of Cancer. However, it travels pretty quickly, so it will have trined Jupiter at some point in the time that the moon was in the sign of Cancer. In other words, a couple of days, maybe the 15th or 16th of January, it would be trining Jupiter. And so talking to your partner about joint finances, it could be that you could precede the full moon with that conversation and talk to them, or that the partner would get their benefit, their bonus, their check, their settlement, their whatever payment that's going to help you guys in your joint finances before the full moon. So don't discount that either. That could be happening too. But Jupiter in squaring that north node and Pluto in trining that north node, we see that there are profound changes in your understanding of what your life mission really is, what your destiny is, and what your role is going to be in it. So there could be that you understand your role, but you have to also understand why you're doing it. Like, you might find that, oh, this is what I love to do and I'm going to do it, but why? There's always got to be a why, because that just gives you more meaning in your life and makes people happier. So Leo, that's what you're going to focus on. And I think with your moon in the 12th house, I think you're going to get another assist from that moon in being able to figure out why you want to do the things that you want to do. Now let's go to Sagittarius. Sag, you have the moon in the 8th house, which is joint resources. So you and your partner are going to be probably worrying a little bit initially about your joint resources, but in the end, I think you have to really talk about them in order to make any changes. Plus, your partner is also emphasized because the North Node is in your 7th house right now, being squared by Jupiter, but being trined by Pluto and the Sun. The other full moon action is happening in your 2nd house with the Sun, Pluto, and Venus all in your 2nd house, really focusing on your resources, although it is the end of your 2nd house and it's moving into your 3rd house. So depending on your chart, and again, it's so important for people to get charts in 2022. It just clears up so many answers. But this Sun and Pluto actually may be working more in your 3rd house than your 2nd house. But let's for sake of argument, let's just say that 27 degrees Capricorn is in your 2nd house. So your finances, the way you value yourself, your resources, and your talents is going to go through a huge transformational change during this full moon. Also, you're going to have an assist in propping up your resources and talents and skills from Venus in Cancer. So transformation of your income and skills and talents and values does not mean that when it transforms you have less. I'm guessing with Venus there, it means that you have more. So Sag, this is all really, really good news for you right now, and that's going to help out for you all the way around. Now, Mercury and Saturn in the 3rd house can mean that you're feeling a little like you're in a rut, like this is not the most exciting way to live my life every day, driving to work the same place, stopping for coffee the same place, and then getting on about my routine at work, doing the same thing every single day. You may not feel great about that, but that is what is fueling and paying for things happening between your 2nd and your 8th house. And as you come to analyze this and come up with some better ideas about how to conduct your everyday transactions, you may find that you can really avoid some of those doldrums. You can get out of that and you can be relieved of that dullness that you seem to feel. There's a big obligation here too with Saturn in your transiting your third house. You feel obligated to just do it this way and to just keep doing it the same way. And everybody would begin to be resentful if they just feel obligated to do something. You want to have some kind of passion, some kind of joy about what you're doing every single day. Now, Jupiter in your fourth house means that there's an emphasis right now on your family during the full moon. Something's going to be added to your family, or your family's going to expand in some other way, but it's going to grow, not shrink. And you've got the square to the node. The node is in your seventh house. So the focus here is on the family and the partner. And then you've got Pluto trining from the second house to the node in the seventh house. So that's your partner and your income. Big changes, Sagittarius. So I would hold back at announcing to your partner that you're changing the relationship that you're in, and I would just wait to see what comes out of this. Also, I would do a little meditation, and I would ask Jupiter and Pluto to give you some very clear guidance about your focus in life and your destiny, and why do you need to do this thing that is your destiny? What is the point of it? That's what you can use these aspects for right now, Sagittarius. And I know you like a little mystery, and I know you like to follow the breadcrumbs, and this full moon gives you plenty of them to follow. Now let's go on to the earth signs. We've got Taurus rising. So Taurus, you've got the node in your second house, which is your house of income, values, resources, and talents. And you've got the moon, the full moon in Cancer, in your third house, which is early childhood, it's siblings, it's cousins, it's the neighborhood you live in, it's the routine that you follow every day to go to work, the small transactions you make every day, and your everyday habits and routines. So with the moon falling in there, you're probably going to be keenly aware of these habits and routines and feel very emotional about them. You may feel like that's your anchor. That's what makes you feel like you're living your life every day, is by these maybe even rituals that you do every day to get through the day. Of course, the moon stands off against the sun and Pluto and Venus, but not exactly to Venus. So Pluto and the sun mean in your ninth house mean that there's going to be some profound change in your relationship to the way you project yourself to the world. So where your communications, your personal communications, is being ruled down here by the transiting moon in Cancer, this has more to do with foreign countries, foreign travel, with the internet, with space, with what you're putting out there in social media. So with the sun and Pluto there, I would say that you're about to dramatically change the way you handle your social media. There is going to be a huge change of the guard when it comes to this. And it will benefit you. It will bring you some more prosperity, Taurus. Taurus, you don't like to do anything unless it really benefits you. And so I can't see you making any changes that wouldn't be really well thought out. And speaking of thinking things out, we have Saturn and Mercury in your 10th house. So this means that you're really focusing, thinking about your career. You're really trying to figure out the timing of your retirement. I'm getting Taurus with this Saturn, the timing planet. But you're feeling, this aspect makes one feel less than. It makes you feel like you're not good enough, especially in the intellectual department. And so you need to wait until this aspect passes so that you don't operate on the assumption that you're not as good as those around you. You're plenty good. I'm sure you have many, many, many talents. And the appearance of Saturn in your 10th house may be difficult for the couple of years that it's there, but it will be well worth the wait. When Saturn is in one's 10th house, it offers, on its exit, great reward. And these rewards are worth waiting for. So usually when people have Saturn transiting their 10th house, they're gonna bump up in their career after Saturn leaves. They're working super hard, they're proving themselves, and having Mercury there with Saturn really just gives you more determination and endurance to do the research and the study that you're doing. But it's not a good planetary arrangement to use to, say, ask for a raise, or talk to people in the company about your future. That's not where this is at. If you're in business for yourself and you're managing your own social media, you're going to do really well with this full moon. But if you're working for another company and your social media has nothing to do with your career, well, that's a whole different thing. It could be foreshadowing a whole other career having to do with branding yourself and what you do today with the full moon. Jupiter in your 11th house pertains to groups, friends, hopes, and wishes, and it's squaring the node, which is in your second house, for income, talents, resources, and how you value what your values are in life. So with Jupiter squaring the node here, we find that you're really looking at what is the meaning of making money in my life? Why do I need to make money? Why is that important in my life, and what's the point? All of us are asking, what's the point of this mission of mine in life? If the point is for me to just make a boatload of money and sit on it, then that seems pretty silly. But if the point is for me to make a lot of money and then either give it away to specific charities or organizations, well, that's also really different. Maybe I start my own organization, or maybe I go and do some of the things that these organizations are doing for people, and I go more directly to people. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but having the node in your second house definitely means that you're looking at how does my skill, my talents, my values, my income, how does this benefit me overall in my life? Where does that tie into my destiny? That's what you're going to be thinking about, Taurus. Okay, then we have Virgo rising. Virgo, you have the moon in Cancer in your 11th house, which means that you're going to be thinking a lot about your friends and your goals in life, your dreams of the future. Where do you really want to be? You're really going to be dwelling on that. Now, you've got the Sun and Pluto in Capricorn in the 5th house, opposing it on the day of the full moon and just before the full moon. And this is where you're going to be making a big, profound change in your life. Your life is going to change surrounding the area of games of chance, children, and what you love to do to have fun. So that's pretty interesting, Virgo. You could be on the verge of discovering something really important about yourself due to Pluto's connection with the North Node right here. And Venus coming here may mean that the change that you are making in your 5th house, which can have to do with children, could be that you're bringing a child, not necessarily a baby, but a female child, into your group. Maybe not to live with you, but you may be mentoring them. You may be becoming a big sister or big brother to them. You may be helping them in some way, and that may help you with your destiny, your meaning for what your life is about this time around. Now, Saturn and Mercury in the 6th house means that you're going to be asked to do a lot of grunt work over the course of the full moon. I'm sorry, Virgo, but they're going to say, nobody can do blah, 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 blah as good as you. Everybody, you're the perfectionist. You're so meticulous. You're so careful. So they're going to hand you a whole bunch of grunt work to do over the course of this full moon, and you're going to do it. And, they know that they can count on you for these things in your job. But see this, the North Node is in your 10th house. So there's something about your destiny that is tied up with work, definitely, because there's a connection between these 6th and the 10th houses. But we've got the Jupiter squaring it, and we've got Pluto trining it. So between Pluto and Jupiter, you're figuring out what the real point of your life is, what your real true mission in life is, and what the focal point of your life should be or could be. And Virgo, I think for you, there will be a big change, and eventually you will probably, whatever this destiny or focal point that you discover is, I think eventually you will end up doing that as a career. It shows up in your house for career. So right now you may be doing a job that you just consider a job. You just consider it, this is just what I'm doing because I need to feed my family. And you become more enlightened about what the purpose of your life is. You may begin to shift your money making ability into an area that can serve that purpose. All right, and let's go on to Capricorn. So Capricorn, the moon in Cancer is in your 7th house, which means that you are blessed with a partner who's very intuitive, and you are going to be very intuitive toward your partner during the time of this full moon. So you and your partner are going to enjoy this full moon a great deal. However, you personally are going to be going through a huge transformation at the time of this full moon, blessed with Venus in Capricorn. So it's going to be very, very positive changes, not anything negative. And it could result actually in some sort of bonus or prosperity coming from the changes that you actually make in your life. Now, you've got Mercury and Saturn in your 2nd house, so you're going to be still working very, very hard. Lots of research, lots of study, lots of attention to detail in order to pull off this job. And then we actually have the node in your house for work in the 6th house where Pluto is trining it. So you're going to be focusing on part of your big change in life is going to be focused on something to do with your work and streams of income, and all of it I think is going to become of a piece later. I don't think during this actual full moon you're not going to just have the sky open up and say, hey Capricorn rising, this is what you should be doing in life and this is why you should be doing it. That's something that you're going to have to figure out on your own, and I think you will. Now Jupiter is in your 3rd house in Pisces, squaring that north node in your 6th house for work. So I do think that you're going to be engaging in something from your childhood that informs your decisions, and also something about your neighborhood possibly, or even your siblings. So you're going to want to be in touch with your siblings during this full moon, and you're going to want to talk to them about, how did you see me as a child? What did you see that what was my gift? What was my real thing that I could contribute to the world? And that may help point you in the right direction for figuring out what this path is and what you should be doing with it. Okay, we're going on to the air signs. All right, Gemini, the moon in Cancer for you is in your 2nd house, and the node is in your 1st house. So the moon is opposing the sun and Pluto in your 8th house. So for you, Gemini, this full moon is all about resources. It's about the resources that you're bringing in now, how you feel about that. Maybe you work for an employer that you don't like very much. Maybe they have, bad humanitarian practices or just bad HR practices. And something about your joint resources with your partner is going to go through a profound change during this full moon period. It's going to be positive. You are eventually going to have more money in your joint resources, or more power over your money eventually, but it is going to go through a big change. With the moon in your 2nd house in Cancer, Gemini, you could be using your own intuitive skills to make money or to increase your earning power. And this could mean shifting into a career that has to do with metaphysics or spirituality or some kind of psychic abilities. This could have to do with healing. Maybe you've always wanted to be a Reiki healer and now you're really going to go for it and do that. Or it could just mean that you're working more with women or with the public in general, and that the skills that you bring to the table are ones that you have kind of hidden up until now, and you feel like now in your life you're able to bring it out. And this may be due to the North Node being in your 1st house, and it's trining Pluto, and it's squaring off to Jupiter. So you are being given an opportunity that really galvanizes during this full moon where you are able to understand what your purpose in life is and why you should be fulfilling that purpose and what that's all about. So, really powerful time for you right now, Gemini. You've got Saturn, Mercury in the ninth house in Aquarius up here. And remember, this is a slightly debilitating aspect that doesn't give you a lot of confidence, but it does give you a lot of ability to attend to details and study and analyze things quite a bit. Things having to do with outer space, things having to do with the internet or with computers in general, with electricity in general, could have to do with the legal profession, the publishing profession, with foreign countries, foreign cultures, or just travel in general, the travel industry. So you may be looking at all of that stuff and trying to figure out what to do with all the information, but also what to do with this moon down here in Cancer in your second house. And I think you'll figure it out, Gemini. I think, you're not opposed to having multiple irons in the fire at all times. And that could be with the node here in the first house in your sign. That could be what ultimately happens, is that you decide to go with a two-pronged approach or more pronged approach, and that's how you figure out where you're going. Now, Jupiter is in your 10th house right now, and it's going to be there for a lot of the year, and it has been in there prior in 2021. So you're getting a taste, or you've gotten a taste already, of how prosperous you can be, how much money you can make, and how successful you can be. And I think Gemini, most of the Geminis that I know, actually most of the mutable signs that I know, are not super capitalistic. That yes, they need money to live, to put a roof over their heads and light bulbs in the lights, but they don't live for the dollar. The bottom line is not their bottom line. Their bottom line is love and family, and you know what I mean? And Gemini, you're probably no exception. So while you like money and you like the things that money can buy, it's not your impetus, it's not your motivation to just make more money. So good luck with all of that, Gemini. It's great when you have Jupiter in your 10th house for almost a year, because it helps you see what's really possible with a career. And that's what a lot of people, they go through that Jupiter period where they make probably money, but they have a lot of successes in their career, and it allows them to feel confident, and it can carry them for the next 12 years until Jupiter comes back again. Now let's look at Libra. Libra, your 10th house holds the Cancer full moon, and it's opposing your 4th house where all the planets are in Capricorn, Sun, Venus, and Pluto. So the emphasis for you during this full moon is family and career, work-life balance. How do I make it work? How do I keep things in balance in my life? So the moon up there in your career means that you're going to be much more sensitive to women, much more sensitive to people, and they to you. So this is a good sign for anybody who has to deal with the public. And Libra, a lot of you with Libra rising, Libra sun, Libra moon, a lot of you really like working with the public because you're an air sign. You like that social interaction that comes, and if you can get paid for it, so much the better. Now, the 4th house, though, with Capricorn, that's your home, the real estate that you live in and that the house is on, and the people in your home. And in this case, this shows that there could be an introduction to somebody new. In fact, there is a profound change that's going to be happening in your 4th house area of life, in your family or in the real estate or something, a transformational, big, huge, life-changing change. It's going to be a positive change because we have Venus here in Capricorn. And because Venus is there, I'm going to say, now, Pluto is usually considered masculine, and the sun is usually considered masculine because it's solar, that's masculine. And so I'm going to say that there's a possibility that the configuration of your family could be shook up and changed, and it could be either female or males coming into your family. Nobody's leaving. This is all positive and growth oriented. So nobody's leaving your family, but you could have new people added to your family. And that may mean that they're just living at your house for a few months, or it could mean that they landed there and they're staying forever. So whatever it is, there's going to be growth in the family area. Mercury and Saturn are in the 5th house. The 5th house has to do with children and games of chance and things that we do for pleasure, including investing or going to like a carnival or something. So with Mercury and Saturn there, you could find that you're really hard at work trying to have fun. Hard at work trying to find somebody to, affairs, love affairs also are under the fifth house. But it just, you're hard at work doing it, you're analyzing it, you're detailing it, and it could be that the whole time that you're working so darn hard at trying to make something happen, it's just not going to happen. So you have to wait till the transit kind of leaves. Saturn kind of puts a tamp down on your confidence about this while it's in action. And so, and Aquarius doesn't help. Aquarius is a barren air sign, so that's not going to help with love affairs. But the study, the analysis, the research, the attention to detail, the cataloging that you do during this transit will be helpful eventually, because Saturn always promises a reward. But while Saturn is still transiting in Aquarius, I don't think you're going to get the reward. So you'll probably have to wait a long time, maybe another year or even a year and a half, before that promise is rewarded when Saturn moves into your sixth house. But when it does, you will get the benefit. You will get the gift. Now, Jupiter is in your sixth house in Pisces right now, which means that probably at work things are expanding, they're growing. You may be taking on more responsibility, but loving it. You do have the moon right now in the 10th house. So during the full moon, at least, you're going to feel like they really appreciate you, they really love you, and you're really going to feed off of that relationship between you and the public, Libra. You're really going to love that. Jupiter is squaring the North Node, which is in your 9th house. So if your company does any overseas business or has anything to do with foreign countries, you're going to be the one who's going to have to be really careful about laws and trademarks and copyrights and all sorts of things like that, because those are the types of things that this Jupiter North Node is really going to attend to. In the meantime, though, you also have your own personal destiny and things that are going on with Jupiter squaring the node and Pluto trining the node. So your personal destiny is going to have something to do with foreign countries, most likely, Libra, people who are abroad and your interaction with them. Now, other ninth house topics that might fulfill your destiny: participating in things on the internet, with social media, with computers, with electronics, with the publishing field, the legal field, and just, generally foreign cultures and foreign countries. So that's a pretty wide range of things, Libra, but one of those things is going to hit the mark as being what you want to pin your hat on as far as your mission in life and what you want to do and why you want to do it. Very important for you to figure out why you want to do it, because then you'll be motivated to keep on doing it, mainly for the rest of your life. Because if it's your destiny, it's your destiny. You're going to do it. And once you find that, Libra, you will be happier. You will be much more fulfilled in whatever it is that you are doing in your life, period. All right, then let's wrap it up with Aquarius. Now, Aquarius, the moon in Cancer is in your sixth house, so your work arena is about to be much more focused on women, at least for the time of the full moon. There's going to be some things going on there with a woman or with women in general that you are very connected to. You're very emotional about. You have a real connection and a feeling for these women and what's going on. And what's going on, because the moon is in opposition to Pluto, is there could be somebody pulling a big power play and really abusing, being bullies over these women in your workplace. Now, in the 12th house, you've got the Sun conjunct Pluto happening, which is the, opposition to the moon. And that's where the big changes are happening in your 12th house. So if you have anything to do in your work with people who are hidden away, like people who live long-term in care facilities, in a monastery, in an ashram, away to college, in a foreign country, really foreign country, not just like, we're in the United States, so not just like Mexico or Canada, but like, the Far East or something like that, very far away. That could spark a desire in you to work for human rights, to work for women's rights all over the world or something like that. But it's that kind of transformational change that you're going to be feeling during this full moon that's going to pull out of you, Aquarius, what it is that you are meant to be doing in this lifetime. And you've got Venus there in Capricorn, so you're going to be very pragmatic about taking steps to handle it and to keep yourself funded during the whole process. Maybe you're going to make this a career, and so you would need to fund it, because you then would be giving up your other career and paycheck. So very interesting there. In your first house, you have Mercury and Saturn, and having Saturn in your first house for a couple of years, Aquarius, is never super fun, but it's probably as the most fun for you or a Capricorn as it would be for anybody. So Saturn is your classical ruler, and you've got Mercury there. So this is not a time where you're feeling terrifically confident, but just for the few days that Mercury and Saturn are conjunct. In general, I don't think having Saturn in your first house, Aquarius, really tamps down your confidence. I don't think you're wired like that. But what you're going to find yourself doing is a lot of busy work. You're going to be doing a lot of cataloging, a lot of analyzing, a lot of writing, just doing a lot of research style, analytical stuff for a few days. And then that part's over, and then you just go back to having Saturn in your first house. But it's going to be a lot of grunt work, Aquarius. And I don't think you're going to love it, but I don't think you'll hate it either. Now, in your second house, you've got Jupiter. That's good for the money. That means that you're going to have money coming in. But Jupiter has a link with the 12th house in its traditional rulership of the sign of Pisces. So, again, it's going to feed back to this whole idea of people who are hidden away or in foreign countries. So we're going to have, ideas and actions and big plans about helping people who are being maybe exploited or who are being stolen or who are being abused in some way, because Pluto is power and powerlessness. And so the Pluto in the 12th house with the sun could bring you an awareness, and especially with the moon in opposition, could bring you an awareness of people who are powerless and the people who hold power over them, and what's particularly wrong with that situation and what you can do to help the situation. So I think that's where all of this stuff is going for you. So that's what I have for you guys. So Aquarius, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Thank you to all of the signs that watched all of your predictions, and if you're at the end of this video and watched it all the way, double thank yous for all of you. Please be sure to see my videos about Mercury retrograde, because we are in a Mercury retrograde and it really helps to know how to handle that. I love doing these videos, and I love all the comments that you guys leave, and I'm so happy to be on this earth providing this service for you. Let me know what you think about the readings, and anything that you want me to do a video on, just leave it in the comments. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.